This is the Fourth and One podcast. Live from Lidditz and Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It's your boy D Nuts sitting next to Joe Mama. We're going to have a good one here for you. Of course, my name is actually Simeon Schlicker, sitting next to Captain Boring himself, Micaiah Schlicker. We're excited for this week's Fourth and One. College football is officially over.
College football is never over if you're a real fan.
That's also true with the transfer portal. We're looking into finished first ever week 18. That means NFL playoff time, which means it's good football. There was a bunch of clowns in Jacksonville this weekend for no apparent reason. And
then
we're
their
not
team
talking
won.
about their fans. Yeah. And
And then the team also played.
and then we're looking forward to the playoffs as well. I know I already said that. But anyway, Micaiah, hi. How was work?
Hi, work was it was actually pretty good today, just kind of dragged on there at the end, but we got there. We shooting a pod. The natty happened.
I'll allow it.
What were your thoughts? I wouldn't known. I watched absolutely none of that
Excellent.
game.
Good.
But it seems like Georgia did exactly what you said they were going to.
Yeah. So the first half, if you don't know, go follow us on Instagram, Fourth and One Pod, because I was giving quarter by quarter kind of breakdowns there on the story. But really, Georgia's defense, exactly what we thought they'd do. They came out angry. They didn't let Bama score 41 points. However, Jamison Williams for Alabama went out in the second quarter. He ended up tearing his ACL. So really it was Bryce Young and no receivers. Like, Bama had some very talented, but you can have talent without experience is almost nothing in those big games. So he was basically just kind of mending together things. The running game was no help because Georgia's defense kind of showed up there, and then Georgia's offense in the first half just couldn't get out of their own way. It was one step forward, two steps back. They would hit a long pass play, have two penalties, hit a run, two penalties. Like, it was just have a big sack. It was just, they were just kind of a mess. And then in the second half, they kind of came out, they ran the football, they got explosive plays on the ground. James Cook went absolutely crazy, both through the air, catching and running the football. And then Bryce Young kind of threw a pick six with 50 seconds left to kind of seal it. But Bama at that point needed a touchdown, and they weren't going to get it on Georgia's defense anyway. However,
I
was bummed because I bet Georgia to win by 1-13, and they were winning by 8.
And the pick six
gave
screwed
them,
you up.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, oh, come on, just go down. Kirby Smart, as soon as he got the pick, was yelling, get down, get down, get down. I was like, yeah, get down, get down. And nope, he returned it all the way for a touchdown. So that...
You had one, Joe.
Just the one? Just the one. Yeah, so that's pretty much the natty. Alabama, great season. But... Nick's...
Not really, but that's okay.
No, I mean, Alabama had a good season. For how young their team was, I think that they what's the word I'm looking for? They
don't know.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
They exceeded expectations.
Hey, there it is.
I got it. Yeah, so Alabama just...
Hey, Daddy, can...
They were really young, and now next year, Alabama's kind of all set up. They got the best offensive player in college football in Bryce Young. They got the best defensive player in college football in Will Anderson. You get some new receivers in, maybe use the transfer portal, get some running back and receiver help, and you go from it. You go from there. So Georgia, but this was Georgia's year, kind of like Michigan. If there was a year to kind of beat Ohio State, it wasn't going to be this year. It was going to be 2 years ago. But this was kind of Georgia's shot to to beat
Killing me,
to beat
Small.
Alabama. He had the better roster for once, and he had the better O-line, and he had the better defense, and he had the better kicker, and it finally all came together in the national championship. So congratulations to Georgia. As I texted Carlos, the best team all year, won the national championship. Who would have figured?
Youths. How do you think I'm wrapping up that was the national championship brought to you by your mom. How do you think the transfer portal is going to affect next season? And specifically, because like you said, college football isn't over because now we have all the transfer portal stuff. And specifically, when do you think we're going to start seeing? We have a lot of names, probably almost a dozen big names. Caleb Williams being the biggest right now. How do you think that's going to affect next season, and when do you think we're going to really start wrapping that up before we go in?
It'll wrap up probably by signing day, so that's February 15th, I want to say.
I think I'll look it up.
Like second week of February. I would assume the transfer portal, everyone will kind of have a team by then because spring ball starts in March. And then you have all the spring games end of March, April, I believe. And then the kids graduate.
The second. It's not
the February
National Signing Day is Groundhog's Day.
Is February 2nd. Okay, so yeah. So all the transfers should be done and complete by then. And how I think it'll affect college football in a big way. I mean, Alabama, they have 7 players leaving, including their tight end and a wide receiver and a corner that all saw action this year. Georgia has 2 players leaving, which that doesn't shock me there. So Alabama, Jamison Williams was a transfer this year. So are they going to go out and try to rebuild that receiving staff? Because they're losing both John Mechie and Jamison Williams both to the NFL draft come April. But I honestly think kind of the next big domino to fall is that everyone's waiting on is whether or not Jim Harbaugh is going to take an NFL job.
Good transition. How legit do you think that is? Because no offense, I don't think that's that legit.
I think it's legit that he's looking at the Raiders only. So there's a tie between the Miami Dolphins owner, he's a Michigan alum, and Jim Harbaugh. So people thought that Brian Flores got fired because they were bringing in Jim Harbaugh, which we'll get to Brian Flores firing in a second. But that... he said that was not the case. The owner said that was not the case. So I think he's looking at Vegas. The problem is Vegas just made the playoffs. And so with their interim,
they can't do anything.
With their interim coach, they actually played really well. I forget his name, but they really can't do anything until they're out of the playoffs. And they play this weekend, and I forget who they play this weekend.
The Steelers?
But I think that Harbaugh is kind of waiting for them to really pitch him by now, because I think by now, this is now the second week going on with this, he would have come, if this was not true, he would have come out and said, I'm not doing this. And supposedly he told one of the wide receivers that committed to Michigan that he would entertain NFL offers. So, and now I'm hearing that people don't want Josh Gaddis to be the head coach and they should just blow up the staff, which I completely disagree with if that was the case. But you can go back and listen to last week's podcast.
Yeah.
But I think that's why it's taking so long, because he's waiting for Vegas to lose.
I mean, this only happened this week?
What?
This whole Brian Flores just got fired this week.
The NFL coaching carousel just happened. Yeah.
Well, I want to come back to transfer portal because I have some questions for you there.
Okay.
I still want to hit on that. But let's go to the NFL coaching carousel. Last week, for those of you who don't know, sorry, I'm pulling up the coaching carousel. For those of you who don't know, was the first ever Week 18. In the NFL's history, pulling up ESPN. Oh, no, here we go. regular season ended, we wrapped up the playoff predictions. We'll get to Jacksonville in a second, being one of the open spots, and everybody and their mother got fired. This is a lot so far. We have Gruden obviously was out as the Denver Broncos.
Nope,
we knew that was midseason.
Raiders
as the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm forgetting who was.
Speaking of the Broncos, though, Vic Fangio. Yeah, Vic Fangio did get fired. Which, when he got the job, what did I say? Defensive coordinators do not make good NFL head coaches without a Hall of Fame quarterback. I've said it 2 years ago when he was hired, and I will say it forever and ever, amen. And I could have told you that was coming because the Denver Broncos can't figure out the quarterback position. They have a nice piece in Teddy Bridgewater, but he's just a bridge piece. He's not a franchise guy, clearly. Drew Lock, I don't think, is a franchise guy because he couldn't even beat Teddy Bridgewater, and the only way he played against the Chiefs was because Teddy got hurt. So I could have told you that was happening, and now they're interviewing, I think, the Chargers OC or something like that.
Denver is already Dan Quinn as a candidate for next coach. Man, more candidates expected to be
Dan Quinn
revealed in the coming
was
day.
In Atlanta with a borderline Hall of Famer in Matt Ryan.
Yep.
And they went to the Super Bowl, but outside of that year, and Kyle Shanahan calling the plays, he did nothing else.
If there's one thing that the NFL does wrong, it's coaching hirings.
Yep.
And I guarantee the fact that they'll just pick somebody who you should go. I'd prefer you to go get a high school coach. Like, honestly, in some of these situations, there are some college coaches who work out. Again, Matt Rule down in North Carolina, I think, is a great example of that.
I think he's going to, unless if he makes the playoffs next year, he's going to be fired too.
Yeah, but he is a good coach who went from college to...
Yeah.
It's hard to go from college. We'll cover that. So the Broncos, Vic Fangio's out at the Broncos. Mannheim Central grad, which isn't that big of a deal. He didn't coach at Mannheim Central. Matt Nagy is fired from the Bears.
Everyone saw this coming after, week 3. Listen.
Yeah.
Also, I think, was the GM fired too?
I believe
in Chicago?
so.
Because the GM should be fired. Because the GM took Mitchell Trubisky instead of Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. And then traded up to get Justin Fields, which... he didn't need to do. And so now the cupboard's bare with very little draft capital.
Ryan Pace was fired.
Yeah, good. And as he should be. So, I mean, that's another spot that people are talking about. Well, maybe Jim Harbaugh, he played under Mike Ditka in Chicago. He went to the playoffs in Chicago. So maybe he goes to Chicago with no GM. He kind of gets all the power there.
Listen, he's going to be the sexiest name only because he's had success in the NFL before.
Yeah,
the question is whether or not he actually wants to go there.
Everyone kept saying, well, Urban Meyer is the better coach. Or
sure.
I think it used to irk Urban Meyer when they would say Jim Harbaugh is the better coach because he's done it at both levels, right? And so now Urban Meyer went and tried with Jacksonville, epic fail. And so now I don't think it's even a question right now. Who the better college coach clearly was Urban Meyer, but clearly he had his way of coaching is authoritarian, dictator-like.
Yeah. It only works.
And it's only going to work in college where the kids have nowhere to go. But now, that's not true. Urban Meyer would not work now in college football because all the kids would be like,
all right, I'm transferring, yep.
Bye.
Yep. Bye.
Exactly. I'm just going to leave.
Brian Flores, I think, was...
Yeah.
It wasn't... This is a double side of a coin for me because he went 24 and 25 in his 3 seasons with the team, but he was A, rebuilding after Adam Gase, and B, who can point proven with the Jets ruins franchises, and B, started the season 1-7 and then flipped it around and finished with a winning record this year. So CBS is saying he's going to be one of the most sought after candidates. So I don't disagree.
So this gets even better if you deep dive. So the first year they won 5 games, but weren't supposed to win any. Right?
Right.
The next year, last year, they went 10-6, but missed the playoffs. This year, as you said, the expectations were the playoffs. started, I think, 0-6 or 1-6, something like that. Won the next 7 and finished 9-8, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, they finished 9-8, and then he got fired. With Brian Flores, I don't think liked Tua very much. Like, as a quarterback, he wasn't what he was looking for.
Yeah.
The GM, though, it was from what I read, it was the pure definition of a power struggle. GM drafted Tua and wanted Tua to play. Brian Flores wanted the franchise to look for better options and maybe pull the Deshaun Watson to Miami trigger. And Brian Flores lost to the GM. So that's where Brian Flores is. Again, it reminded a lot of people of Jim Caldwell in Detroit, where he got to one playoff game against the Cowboys, got hosed by the refs, and then kind of like was always over 500, like he would go like 9-7 or 10-6, but it would never be quite good enough, and so he was fired. And then they brought in Matt Patricia, and that did not work at all. So honestly, this is a terrible move by the Dolphins, and they're just a franchise that is just sucks.
Okay, well, speaking of franchise that sucks, I think you're not wrong. I still think it's semi-attractive, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know who they're going to get. It's going to be interesting. And Flores and Bieniemy, again, we haven't even talked about him, but he's still an option out there. The offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Eric Bieniemy is going to have to take a college football job, I think, just because Patrick Mahomes is too good. Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid will always probably get at least to the AFC Championship game, I'm going to guess. And that's going to mess up his hiring process, because technically he's not allowed to accept a job, I believe. He's not allowed to accept a job until your team loses. But no team's going to commit to Eric Bieniemy while the Chiefs are making a run to the Super Bowl and let all the other good candidates dwindle, so that if Eric Bieniemy comes back and says, like, you know what, I rethought, and that's a hard pass, like, say, the Jets or the Giants, as Joe Judge just got fired, and then they're left with nothing. It would kind of be like again, I talked about it, but it would be like if Michigan didn't want to go internal, if Jim Harbaugh left, all the good candidates right now are gone. Kind of their only option is to go internal. I mean, you could pick up and call people and see what you get, but there are no candidates. So at some point, Eric Bieniemy, I think, is just going to have to accept a college offer, and then that way, in the next cycle or the cycle after that, he is open at any time to take the NFL job.
It would be smart. It's possible. Going up the coast, I'm just going to leave it at that. Going up the coast to the Jaguars. The Jaguars fan base wore clown costumes this week as the Colts showed up as well, apparently, as clowns, as they lost with the playoffs on the line. There was a winning-you're-in situation. Yeah. Colts lost badly. Jaguars showed up. The fans were wearing clown costumes
to protest
the
front office.
Team ownership, the front office, and the team ownership as well. So, not a very attractive job, but very attractive from the fact of you have the second coming of Jesus and Trevor Lawrence, and you have the number 1 overall pick with possibly a defensive end type person possible for drafting. What do you think of this job, and what are your thoughts?
So I would disagree with you. You said it's not a very attractive job. I would say it's a very attractive job. Because I just learned this, because Trevor Lawrence's contract, you're going to have $40 million in cap space over the next 4 years each year because of his contract. So you're going to be able to pay a lot of people to try to make a run over the next 3 to 4 years. Probably not next year because, again, they're bad. But the year after that, and then the year after, and then the 2 years after that, I think you can make a solid run.
The fuck you are.
Number 2, Trevor Lawrence is not the second coming of Jesus Christ. He's the second coming of Peyton Manning. Let's get that out of the way, okay?
Again, humans are pretty dumb.
Exactly. I think the Jaguars are a very attractive job because of Trevor Lawrence and the fact they have another pick, the first overall pick again. So even though they won, the Lions also won on Sunday, so that locked up the Jags to get the first overall pick again, and most people assume it will either be Aiden or Thibodeau or an offensive lineman from Alabama.
Okay, well, here, I have this perfectly good soundbite for why you're...
You have a poison in your mind, and the fact that you can't see it makes me so...
Here's why. Because everybody thought Urban Meyer's, this is going to work out, this is going to be great.
Including myself.
You have to remember,
yep.
This is, including me. No, I had skeptics. A little bit of skepticism, but still me. We had the Tom Coughlin era before this, okay? Tom Coughlin went in. We thought it was going to be great. Everybody's like, yay, Jaguars, this Tom Coughlin front office, exactly what they need. And then 2 years into it...
Well, put together a lot of talent. Made the AFC Championship game.
Yep, did well. And then all of a sudden we started hearing, hey, the culture isn't that great. Or, hey, there's this. Or, hey, there's that. Or bits and pieces started to come out where Coughlin eventually said, I'm too old for this shit, bye. That's me paraphrasing. So what I'm saying is it's not attractive because that means we've done this for at least a half decade, if not longer, probably the past 6 years of just utter crap from a cultural perspective. Your leader is a 22-year-old kid with long blonde hair, and you're having to come into that organization with a guy who clearly doesn't want you guys to be in Jacksonville and wants to be over in London with his soccer team. And you have to come in and you have to set up a culture, you have to play politics, and you have to freaking win games.
So I will agree with you kind of with the culture and the politics, because also the GM is Trent Balky. And
the name? And I don't remember.
Okay, well, this is very relevant because of who's on the coaching market right now. I guarantee you one person will not be going to Jacksonville, and that's Jim Harbaugh, because Trent Balky ran him out of San Francisco. Because Jim wanted more power. Trent said, absolutely not, I'm better at this than you. So Jim got fired, mutually agreed to part ways, went to Michigan. Well, Jim was right. He was better than Trent. And I knew as soon as they hired Trent Balky, when Urban Meyer, I was like, this is just not going to work out. Trent Balky is not a good GM. I don't know how he keeps getting GM jobs, but he sucks at it.
Because the NFL is a boys' club.
So they need
only
to fire Trent Balky immediately, and title of the pod is Trent Balky is awful at his job. If I was as bad as Trent Balky is at my job, I would definitely have been sued at least like 9 times.
Curry, way downtown, bang! Bang!
Thank you.
Oh, what a shot from Curry!
I think that's the best soundbite there. I think that's fair.
But
Jaguars,
again,
did I change your mind? Not as attractive as you think it is?
Not as attractive as I think it is, but again, it's still attractive in the aspect of you have the second coming to Peyton Manning. You have the number 1 overall pick to either help the offensive line or defensive line. And you have a lot of cap space. And Aaron Rodgers is leaving, which means Devontae Adams is leaving. And so
which also means
you can literally
you can't do anything with that cap space because Trent Balky's your GM, so you have no choices. And we know Trent Balky does great with player personnel.
The only person worse at GMing than Trent Balky is Mike Tannenbaum.
So why are you saying, this is great, except the coach isn't going to have anything to do if Trent Balky ran Jim Harbaugh out of San Francisco? No, you're wrong. Listen, if Trent Balky ran Jim Harbaugh out of San Francisco right into our arms for us to hug him and cuddle him, and then got fired from that job. I'm sorry. Okay?
Oh my goodness.
You're not going to be able, because it's a power. If there was a power struggle in San Francisco, there's going to be a power struggle in Jacksonville.
So
we already had that problem.
What you need is Jacksonville just needs to find a good ball coach, someone who won't upset the power structure of upper management.
Sure, but name one of them.
Name a good ball coach.
That's just a ball coach. I don't know a single coach who doesn't want to be.
You could do Doug Peterson, because it's eerily similar to the Philadelphia Eagles situation. So
Sure.
he's gonna know how to do that, and bring along a young quarterback. Except he doesn't run the football.
Except for like 3 years, we were calling Howie Roseman the smartest man on earth.
No, we weren't.
Yeah, we were.
I was saying long before Peterson should have been fired. I said Roseman should be fired. I still don't agree that Roseman has a job.
I will confirm Makai has been saying that for as long as he has been saying that.
I thought that they should have got, because every single draft, like the Eagles still can't. The fact that Devontae Smith is actually, the fact that it took a Heisman Trophy winner, who is probably the best college receiver I think I've ever seen, dropped to them, and the only reason he dropped is because he's 6'2" and 175 pounds. There's a reason they call him the Slim Reaper.
Right.
To finally stabilize the draft picks that they have failed at the wide receiver position says a lot.
I saw in one mock draft ranking today that they have Chris Olave dropping to the Eagles spot.
Chris Olave, listen, I would not be mad with Chris Olave. Chris Olave is a heck of a receiver. I
don't know
his
they
ability.
have guys going above him.
Well, he's also, again, he's kind of like Devontae Smith. They would just have two back-to-back Devontae Smiths. Except Olave is the better route runner.
Yeah, I watched him pick apart entire offenses by himself.
No, Jackson Smith and Jigba picked apart offensives. Olave, listen, Olave is a very good receiver. He's going to make a fan base very happy, and if it's the Eagles, he's going to make me very happy. But he is not better than both Garrett Wilson and Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Agree to disagree.
Okay.
The factory of sadness that is East Rutherford, New Jersey, hasn't been successful since Mr. Durpin himself.
Sorry.
The insert template here, find new coach here, known as Joe Judge, got fired after 2 seasons. Shocker, shouldn't have never been hired. What are your thoughts on the Giants and the Jets are the least attractive coaching positions in the NFL? Changed my mind.
Well, I thought you said it was Jacksonville.
No. In this round, yes. Overall.
Okay. All right.
Giants
I can't change your mind. So I saw 2 things, a little bit alarming, that I thought I'd fill you in on. Number one, at no point in the last 5 seasons have the Giants had a 500 or better record.
Yep.
Okay, so the Giants actually have been the bottom of the NFL for the last 5 years.
And we'll have to remember, Dan Snyder owns the Washington football team right now, and they're better than the Giants. Continue.
Well, and that means the Jets even have had a 500 or winning record at some point. Number 2, speaking of the Jets, there was someone put on this meme page I follow on Facebook. He put the last time that all these teams made the playoffs, right? And so it was like 2021, it was all the teams this year. 2020, all the teams who made it, and it went all the way back in 2015, or maybe even before that, were the Jets. And then it's the Jets, 3 years of... So if there was an empty year, that means that all the teams currently in the league have at least made it once since that year. There were 3 empty years, and then it was the Jaguars, the Giants, and some other team. Yeah. The Jets are historically awful, but more relevant now to right now. The Giants are way worse than the Jets. I think that Mike Saleh and Joe Douglas, the GM of the Jets, have that thing set up to where maybe in another 2-3 years. Like, no one's expecting the Jets next year to make the playoffs.
Right.
But if the Jets win 7 games next year, it's, oh my gosh, the Jets won 7 games next year.
Right.
The Giants will be lucky to win 6.
The Giants will be lucky to finish in 3rd place next year.
What did I?
In the NFC East.
Let me see. Let me see if I can find it. Robert Mara came out and said something that the owner of the Giants, that I just had to plan. Portland star Damian Lillard plans to have abdominal surgery likely to keep him out at least 6 to 8 weeks, which botches the Damian Lillard to Philadelphia and that Ben Simmons trade we were all hoping for. Okay. Giants finish 4
Back away a little bit from your mic there, bro.
Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, you're good.
Giants finish. John Mara says, I kept thinking we hit rock bottom, and each week it got worse.
Okay, so we have the second coming of the derp Eli Manning, who's a much worse quarterback than Eli Manning, Daniel Jones. They traded up to get him. There's not much else. They had to trade away Odell Beckham Jr., but that was smart of them.
They fired their GM as well, which was also smart.
Which is also smart. So you're going into one of the toughest markets, one of the biggest cities in the world from a cultural impact perspective, and one of the, as you said, most relevant teams most relevant franchises, successful franchises with Bill Parcells and with the 2 Super Bowls that Eli Manning had. Are you still there? Did I just lose him? I can't tell if that's me or him. Okay, sorry, you froze. You froze there for a hot second. We're all good. So, we're still good. We're good. So, I don't know as Makai goes in and out, and it might be me. Sorry, I might have bumped something. We have 2 Makai Schlickers coming into the waiting room right now.
Well, that was kind of weird.
Yeah,
I'm in the audience, too.
Wait, you're in the audience?
Yeah, it says we have 2 in here and 1 in the audience.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there we go. Okay, it fixed itself. All right, that was weird.
No,
you were chunking like super hard, and then
I might have kicked something on accident. Anyway, you're still here. So anyway, Giants. The really what I'm getting at to is the head coaching pool is very small, very, very, very small, and we have a lot of openings. What the actual heck with the Giants? What do you think?
Yeah, the Giants are as you mentioned, in my opinion, are in worse shape than the Jags because they don't have a quarterback. I mean, Daniel Jones is not it. If you want to say Daniel Jones was under Joe Judge, who shouldn't have been hired because he was a special teams guy. He was a Belichick guy. That's why he got the job, first and foremost. Number 2, what I would say about Daniel Jones is yes, but he still led the league in turnovers. Like he has a fumbling. Yeah. He can't hang on to the football.
Yeah.
And the only reason Daniel Jones got drafted was because he played for, what's his name?
Was he
David Cutcliffe.
Yeah, Duke,
at
right?
Duke, who was the same coach that coached Eli Manning at Ole Miss, and he was the same offensive coordinator that coached Peyton Manning at Tennessee. So they kind of used that same formula to go get him. But now the Giants have a top 5 overall pick. I don't know how their cap space, but their offensive line sucks. They've screwed up, much like Philly screws up their wide receivers. The Giants screw up their offensive line, which is inherently worse than screwing up wide receivers, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense is okay, suspect, but now you got to make a decision whether you got to pay Jabril Peppers, who just had season-ending injury, or let him walk, which then hurts your back end. Saquon Barkley can't stay healthy. He had that one good season, and then his knees have been a problem ever since. Maybe he should focus on arm day, not so much his quads. Maybe his quads are tearing up his knee. I don't know. But you got to fix the quarterback position in a draft that is scantily clad with quarterbacks.
Yeah, really
if that
only
makes
2,
sense.
and that's and neither of them seem like they're going to be franchise guys. And
Who
Kyle Pickett and Matt Corral are the only two that are going to go in the first round.
Well, no, I don't think that that's true. Because the quarterback position is so valuable, you're going to have 4 or 5 quarterbacks go in the first round.
But who else? I wanted to hit. I need to pull that up. Give me a second.
Okay.
But Greg Roman. Hear me out.
Okay.
Greg Roman. Do you know what that name?
No.
Okay.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, he is currently the Baltimore Ravens offensive coordinator.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Do you know whose offensive coordinator he also was?
Matt Corral's.
Jim Harbaugh's in
with
San
Colin
Francisco.
With Colin Kaepernick, yeah.
So this is a guy who has good luck with. He got 3 Lamar Jacksons: Lamar Jackson Light, and Lamar Jackson 3.0.
Who is Lamar Jackson Light?
Who were the 3 quarterbacks that played for the Ravens this year?
Oh, Tyler Huntley.
And
then he had Colin Kaepernick.
No. Frick. Hold on. Sorry, I'm trying to find their
Trace McSorley.
No. Who was their? I'm actually trying to find their roster for this year. It was because the guy he came in, then he got injured, and they went to their 3rd string, which is the guy from like Utah or
Tyler Huntley.
And who was the other Johnson guy that played for a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Jared Johnson, something like that.
Yeah. They're basically 3 versions of the exact same person, except the other 2 can throw a ball and Lamar can't. So
I don't think that's. I think it's the other way around, but go for it.
Debatable.
Well, also, and the Ravens. I mean, their entire team was injured or on the COVID list.
But
basically, they had no running backs.
I'm trying to think of people who can coach head coaching jobs, and there are currently.
Well, you bring up a good point with Greg Roman. Is he's had a good track record with quarterbacks, with running quarterbacks whose skill needs to be worked on throwing the ball and have improved under him, but can still go. So you're looking at it, Matt Corral. If Greg Roman gets a job, Matt Corral and Greg Roman would fit perfectly together. Listen, a lot of people are expecting Kenny Pickett to kind of be like a Joe Burrow.
Josh Johnson.
I'm sorry, Josh. But people are assuming that Kenny Pickett kind of had this magical run final season at Pitt that maybe he kind of turned success into kind of like a Joe Burrow situation. And people are like, well, he played at Pittsburgh. He broke the ACC. He broke a Pittsburgh record and ACC records in his final year in terms of passing touchdowns and passing yards, and not the passing to interception, the touchdown to interception ratio. So he's a decent quarterback, but again, it was what did he do in the first 3 years he was there, which was not much of anything.
Yeah, I'm looking
which concerns a lot of people. People understood the Joe Burrow situation because he was at Ohio State and was sitting behind J.T. Barrett and Dwayne Haskins and the likes of them.
I need to pull up. Can I look up by freaking? I'm trying to pull up. Can I pull up?
The other quarterback that people are talking about is the Liberty quarterback, and again, he would fit Greg Roman's style. Listen, I don't have. If you're trying to ask me who some of the candidates I have out there, besides
do you have anybody?
I mean, if you're not willing as a franchise to go all in on it, like if Jacksonville, if you're not all in as a franchise to go all in on Eric Bieniemy and wait, and because he's probably going to take the job. But if you're not willing to do that. And if no team is willing to wait for Eric Bieniemy, then Eric Bieniemy doesn't deserve that team. But Eric Bieniemy is my top choice almost for every position. Listen, Greg Roman did good things. Whether or not he wants to be a head coach, I don't know. Listen, Doug Peterson, I think, needs another shot in here as well. I would be cautious with Brian Leftwich, the offensive coordinators for the Buccaneers, just because I understand he did good things with Jameis Winston, but he still has had a lot of weapons in Tampa Bay this entire time. With or without Tom Brady, he still had 2 really good receivers, a good running back, a decent offensive line. If he gets the job, say, in New York, the Giants have no good receivers, a terrible offensive line, and a running back that has yet to prove that he can be better than, I don't know, insert a running back here, a random running back.
Yeah.
Right? Like Saquon Barkley, he shows flashes of, oh my gosh, it's Saquon Barkley. But he has to be on the field, and then he's never kind of been right since his...
So you answered my question.
Okay.
I think.
I tried.
We're kind of all over the place today.
We
ladies
are,
and
but
gentlemen.
this is what we do. Worstest podcast on the interwebs, right?
Again, humans are pretty dumb.
Okay, so let me go over. This is best of the rest. Okay, so these are available quarterbacks who've announced for the 2022 drafts.
All
Took
right.
me a while, but I found it.
All
Okay.
right. Yep.
So we have obviously the 2 main names, Kenny Pickett. Both Kuiper and McShay have them number 1 QB overall.
Yep.
Matt Corral,
Okay.
Ole Miss.
They will both go in the first round. Both of them.
We have Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati.
I don't think he goes in the first round.
Kuiper has him as a 2nd overall quarterback. McShay has him at 4.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know. We have Malik
Willis
Malik
from the
Willis.
Liberty quarterback. Yeah.
I look like such a racist white guy. You have Sam Howell from North Carolina.
I think Sam Howell's an interesting one. Sam Howell is very tiny. Not very tiny.
He's 6'1", 220.
He's not 6'1".
37.
He's 6 foot 220.
Okay. He's 37 career starts. He's 21. He's young.
But you are going to see a move of it. And the NFL used to be the Justin Herberts, the 6'5", 250, but can move, right?
Yeah.
And it used to be Peyton Manning, who couldn't move, and then it kind of transitioned to Michael Vick and guys who can't stand in the pocket but can run around. And now it's kind of a healthy mixture of both.
Yeah.
And now we're going to transition into the Kyler Murrays, the Bryce Youngs, the Sam Howells, I believe. Short guys who can absolutely spin the bean.
His stats: 3,000 yards, 62% completion rate, 24 TD passes, 9 interceptions in his 12 games that he played.
That was this year. His best season was last season and his freshman season. But let me tell you what. Sam Howell, I think, is very underrated at this point, and it'll kind of be, I'm sure he'll throw at the combine to try to work his draft status up. Listen, I would take a fly. He's probably a second-round draft pick at this point, but he could get into the first round, but he can absolutely spin it. And he's accurate down the field throwing the football.
Yeah, pass-heavy offense is something akin to, Arizona's freaking
Kyler Murray.
Coach.
Cliff Kingsbury,
and kind of that West Coast, not running gun, but air raid kind of offense he would be good in, which is kind of what Mac Brown had him going this past year. A little bit more. Carson Strong out of Nevada, 4,000 yards 70% completion percentage.
He was at North Dakota State, wasn't he?
Carson Strong?
Yeah. I think he spent a season or 2 at North Dakota State.
26 as many schools didn't want to offer. Powerhouse. Sorry, I'm just reading here. Nope.
Oh. Okay.
He was at Nevada all 4 years. 22, 6'4", 215.
So again, he reminds me of like a Paxton Lynch. Like he has all the measurables, and that's just why he'll get drafted. And I hate that teams do that because he has measurables and on tape he looked out like, who cares? College football has developed so much to now where we're playing they're playing against NFL guys almost every day, almost every week. Go off of that tape.
Yeah.
Stop just drafting him because he's 6'5" and 235 pounds.
So these are the
he
other
played at
names.
Nevada for a reason.
Yeah, these are the other names that are up there. Okay, according to ESPN, we have Bailey Zippy.
The Western
Kentucky.
He knows how to throw the football.
Almost 6,000 yards.
Yeah,
and
he broke
62
a record.
touchtowns.
Yeah, he broke.
Dude can
records
throw,
for that.
but he also went to Western Kentucky, and they're
Which
not
is an
necessarily known for
an
their
air raid,
academics.
yeah.
Brock Purdy's coming out of Iowa State.
He's a winner. And again, one of these quarterbacks in this class, I can almost guarantee it, will get a job and keep the job the longest that you'll be like, why?
Yeah,
like,
that's what I'm wondering.
why?
We got,
like my guess is it won't be Kenny Pickett or Matt Corral. My guess is not Matt Corral. Chance at Kenny Pickett just because he knows how to develop.
Listen, my money's on either. I think Sam Howell's like a 4-yearer.
Yeah, he's 3-year. He started as a true freshman.
No. I'm saying like I think he's like a 4-yearer in the. You have the one and the dones.
Oh yeah, sure. So he's a 4-year. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he's like a 4-yearer. I think Carson Strong's. He's either going to be a one and done, or like a 5 or 6 year before he kind of.
He's going to get 2.
That's my call, Carson Strong.
He's going to sit for a year behind someone. Then they're going to try him on and off for that second year, and then just move off of him. He's a 2-year.
That's what he's calling. Okay, Brock Purdy at Iowa State's another.
See, now this is he always, and it's because of the culture he came from. It is just because things aren't going well now. Well, we work on it and we get better. The problem is Brock Purdy likes to turn the ball over.
Yeah. E.J. Perry from Brown is another available option. Transfer from Boston College. League record 3,600 yards. He also led the team in rushing yards at 730.
So he can move.
But it's Brown is a Ivy League school, so they didn't play in 2020.
Yep.
You have DTR from UCLA.
Yeah, I don't think he's an NFL guy.
Cool. You got Dustin Crum, poor last name, Kent State. Only player to surpass the 9,000 total yards mark at Kent State.
Good for him, not an NFL guy.
Dual threat. Chase Garbers from Cal. So that's your draft class. You were saying that there was going to be multiple draft people.
No.
You tossed a lot of all of the quarterbacks listed here. Okay, that's the current quarterbacks who've drafted for the class. Okay, You have in this article. I'm just scrolling up to the top here. Sorry, because they have them listed differently. 1, 2, 3, 4. They have 6 listed. You were confident in 4 of them. You threw the rest out the window.
Yep. And I think at least
you're comparing this to the draft class that had Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Let's see if I get this right.
I'm not comparing the draft class. I'm saying teams are so desperate, and the quarterback position is the most important position on the field that teams will reach in the draft. I will bet you 3 quarterbacks go in the first round.
Again, humans are pretty dumb.
You're just wrong.
Okay, put the over/under 3.5. So over or under?
Under. There's too many other good skill position players that are available.
2.5. 2.5.
Under. I think it's only going to be 2. I think it's going to be Pickett and Corral.
Okay. I'll take that bet. A gentleman's agreement. A gentleman's bet, then.
A gentleman's bet.
A gentleman's bet. There will be at least 3 taken in the NFL draft. 2022 NFL draft.
Youths.
You have a poison in your mind, and the fact that you can't see it makes me so
sad. I need to fix that soundbite. Okay, quick hitters. I just want you to pick the wild card matchup here. Starts Saturday, NBC 4:30.
Hit me.
You have the Raiders at the Bengals.
Bengals, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, their connection on deep balls is outstanding. Jamar Chase is the next absolute superstar in the league.
He's also the rookie of the year. You got New England at Buffalo.
Tough one. I think actually New England gets it done. Bill Belichick has been hearing all year that his team isn't good enough, and he heard all last year that Josh Allen is going to rule the AFC East. Well, Mac Jones doesn't turn the ball over, and that defense is working.
Yeah, I'm picking right along with Micaiah on those first two. Sunday, 1 on Fox, we got the Eagles at Tampa Bay in the
Closer
swamp.
than people think, because Tampa gives up rushing yards, and the Eagles are the number 1 rushing team in the league, and with Jalen Hurts, you're never out of it. It was a blowout on a Thursday night earlier in Philly. This is in Tampa. Close, but Tampa wins.
We got San Francisco at Dallas.
Why I'm silent is because I'm picking whether Dallas is going to choke this week or next. They're going to choke this week.
I don't think so. I think they're going to choke next week, just because I'm regurgitating the urinating tree here. But Mike McCarthy can get to the point where he needs to choke and then choke then. I think he's been bailed out by CeeDee Lamb, by Dak Prescott, and San Francisco's just been too inconsistent for me this year. So
Dallas is not good if they can't run the football, and the 49ers have a very good rushing defense.
That's about the only thing the 49ers have. Pittsburgh at Kansas City. Last time Pittsburgh played Kansas City in the playoffs, Pittsburgh won.
Congratulations. So this has to be low scoring. Big Ben can't throw more than 15 yards down the field accurately.
That's being nice of you.
And I think Kansas City has found their identity, and Patrick Mahomes has stopped turning the ball over. It is take what the defense is giving you and let your playmakers do it. Patrick Mahomes gets her done in a close game, I think.
Yeah, if it wasn't legitimately for Jamar Chase just owning people like they're his son, Najee Harris will be the Rookie of the Year. He's carried this team offensively, but no, it's going to be Kansas City by 2 touchdowns. I think they're going to show up for once in their life. Second half, they'll just stick around for the first half. Monday night's mashup is probably, I might actually watch this game, which means I won't, but I might actually watch this game. Arizona and Inglewood at Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, so if Arizona would have won on Sunday, they would have won the NFC West. Arizona got off to a hot start. They were like 9-1, I think.
Yeah.
And then they kind of sputtered down the stretch and finished like 2 and what? How many losses do they have?
Oh, I
They
gotta
have
look
7,
it up.
right? So I think they finished like 2-6.
11-6, yeah.
They finished 11-6. So I think they finished like 2-5 down the stretch. Not great. It kind of I was hearing Kurt Warner talk. It reminds him of the year they made the Super Bowl. They got off to a really hot start and then sputtered down the stretch.
In their last 10, they went 8-2.
Who?
The Cardinals.
They did not go 8-2 in their last 10 games.
Dude, I'm looking at
They lost 3 in a row.
But is the preseason at the end? Give me this full schedule. Hold on. There we go. Okay, that was stupid. They do it. They put the preseason at the end and then rank it the other way. No, you're 100% correct. In their last 8 games, they went 1, 2, 3, 4. They went 4-4.
So they're a 500 football team.
Basically.
They're getting J.J. Watt back, which will help leadership-wise, but he doesn't do much on the defensive end. But they also... They stop. If Kyler Murray can't run the football, they can't run. But Matthew Stafford is turning the ball over. It's in Inglewood. I'm going to roll with the Arizona Cardinals.
I think I will here, too. Matthew Stafford took a downturn, and all their wins were against the Ravens, who was half injured, the Vikings, who had a horrible coach, the Seahawks, who aren't anything anymore, and Jacksonville.
Best opening? That Minnesota job.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Minnesota.
I forgot to talk about Minnesota.
The best job opening is if Jim wants to go to Minnesota. You got Dalvin Cook, a great offensive line, a veteran quarterback that is actually statistically wise is pretty good. Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson and a decent tight end. That's
Yeah.
a pretty decent roster there.
I would say so too. So you're taking the
I'm taking the Cardinals because Kyler Murray. When Kyler Murray plays well, which he has been over the last month, it's just the defense has let them down.
Yeah, so we haven't disagreed at all in the picks.
Except for San Francisco and Dallas.
Dallas, that's right. I think they're going to choke next week. You think they're going to choke this week, right?
Yep.
Forgot about that.
Watch Jalen Hurts upset Tom Brady.
Listen, they did not look good at the end of the season. If anything,
Hey, Daddy, can I?
they might. I think if anything, that's going to happen.
When you run the football and listen, Jalen, he's hard to defend. He's Lamar Jack. He's the power running version of Lamar
Listen,
Jackson.
the Eagles trended upward towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay trended downward.
I wouldn't say downward. It was more like horizontal.
They plateaued.
Yeah.
But maybe that's what they need. Who knows? We'll see
Well,
what Brady,
yeah,
we'll
but
see what
again,
Brady does.
They have the greatest quarterback of all time.
Yeah,
So how do you go wrong?
I don't know. You have here to wrap up. You have no expansion.
So the committee met on January. The college football playoff.
This is perfect to end on. Yeah, go ahead.
The college football playoff committee met, and they did vote. It was nowhere near unanimous on it, and there's strong push for a 10-team playoff now instead of a 12-team. Listen, there's going to be a whole lot of this, and they got to figure it out. Listen, expansion.
Sorry,
The
Mom.
way the current sport is going, expansion is the only right option. I think that they should expand to 8 so that all the Power 5s get in. You can take the one non-Power 5 champion as well, whoever that is, from the AAC, Sunbelt, whatever, and then you get 2 at-larges, and the top 2 teams get a bye, and everyone else plays, and then you go from there. But it is very annoying because everyone agrees expansion is the way to go to kind of even this thing out, because or you're going to keep having Georgia and Bama and Ohio State and Clemson, and those 4 teams with some off years like this year rule the roost, unless if you expand this and let other teams kind of into the fun, as it were.
This is another perfect representation of the college football bending down and sucking the dick that is the SEC. And I'm glad Georgia won. I prefer them over Alabama. At least it shook it up a little bit. But dear Lord Almighty, am I tired of just the SEC getting whatever they want. And I wish this was the 80s where, you know, when SMU's football team got derailed, where they've been doing shady business and the SEC will get laughed out of existence, but it's not going to be the case. And I hate it. This is the SEC realizing they only have 2 or 3 good teams at one time and realizing that they would get laughed because the back half of their conference sucks as hard as it does, and they don't realize that everybody else's conference has a better and more competitive back half, and they would realize that if they allowed the expansion, that these other conferences would get better, would get more recognition, and would start getting more money. And the SEC doesn't want to lose their money.
I think you're half right. You are right in that aspect. But number one, I don't think they're afraid of losing money. The SEC, with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma, are not going to lose money. They're only going to make money. Number two, I think the SEC does want Greg Sankey even came out and said, we want expansion, but we want fair expansion. Stop. The thing holding this up is the Pac-12, and more specifically, the Big 12. The Big 12 is afraid that they're going to be nothing in 2026 and moving forward.
Yeah.
So
There's barely anything right now. That's their fault, not mine.
And all Power 5 conferences want a guarantee and want a chunk of the pie. All the Power 5 conferences want an at-large. If you win your conference championship, you want an at-large bid. But the problem is with that, if you do it that way, is some years what if Iowa upset Michigan this year? You would have had an Iowa team that would have been railroaded like they were in the Big Ten championship game by Michigan.
You mean like Michigan was in the semifinal?
No, but worse.
Okay, here's the deal. Big 12 can I don't care about the Big 12. They're the SEC of basketball. I honestly don't. You have Kansas and you have Baylor. That's your Georgia and Alabama, except in basketball. So
but it doesn't pull nearly as much money.
I get it. The Big 12 is scared because Oklahoma and, more importantly, the rich hot girl is leaving to go to the cool quarterback. I 100% get it. You have the largest public endowment in Texas leaving your conference. I get it. But the problem is, and don't even get me started with the Pac-12. They're just, I don't even know anymore.
So the Pac-12 wants some people want automatic.
Spread the money evenly and be done.
So what we're lacking right now is a commissioner that can be the bad guy, but has the power to say, this is what we're doing, and we're just going to do with it.
These weren't originally designed to be that way. This was mom and dad with orange slices originally. This was
originally
5'6" white guys
much like
tossing
Kirk
a ball in the
Street.
Tossing the
Get
ball in the
on
mud.
board with the changes, because you don't have to agree with these changes and how college football is changing, but it is. It now revolves around money. It is now the second biggest money-making sport in the United States.
Probably close to in the world.
I cannot comment on that. I would assume it would still be soccer. But
soccer's number one. Is the NFL number
makes
two?
like $12 billion a year.
And then probably the NCAA.
So we're just going to have to deal with this. But again, Mark Emmerick, ever since Kavanaugh, the justice, slapped him on the wrist and said, how you're running things is an absolute joke, and your the NCAA is an absolute joke. He's like, all right, well, I tried. Well, no, because he was always terrible, Mark Emmerick was. And so they need a commissioner badly. And I don't think that we're going to have anything productive until we have a commissioner of college football. Yeah. And we're not going to get that anytime soon. Hopefully the expansion will come. It's still on the table to go into effect in 2025, but no longer 2023 or 4, as it were.
Do you know that Capital One commercial that's, banking made easier? It's the easiest decision since this one, and it cuts to the little girl with the pony.
Picking up,
Yeah, a wrapped pony. Listen, this is what this is. This is the easiest decision that anybody could make, hands down. It's a win-win for everybody. If you don't like it, get off the boat. If you don't like it, go play for the NAIA. Go back and play for something that doesn't matter.
Again,
listen, it works for the SEC, the FCS. They've had a different national championship since they've implemented
your
this.
Frustration is 100% justified. It's just, again, it's a lot of money moving, and conferences that are already seeing that money don't want to have the potential of that taken away. Like the Big 12 wants an automatic qualifier so that they'll always be in.
Right.
But the problem is, everyone else is looking at the Big 12 and like, do we really want the Big 12 in the college football playoff in 2027?
Do I really want the Pac-12 in the playoff in 2027?
Exactly. But then the Pac-12 and the Big 12 are like, well, we don't want the SEC, the Big 10, and the ACC.
But you're also talking about 2027. 5 years ago in 2017, Florida State was relevant. Guys,
Actually, they weren't at that point.
They just got past relevance.
But Michigan was super relevant. Like Harbaugh was the next big thing. Yeah.
So let's just take a deep breath, expand the playoff, and move on with our lives.
Florida. In 2017, Florida was the number 3 team in the nation.
So there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, unfortunately we ended on Florida. This has been the 4th and 1 podcast. I'm your host now, Simeon Schlicker.
And I'm Captain Bourne. Wash your hands, you filthy animals.
And we love you guys. We'll see you next week.
Peace out.